It's been told that my own great-great-grandfather was once counseled by the famous Rabbi Shmuel of Zaslow, simply known as the Paradox Nonsense Rebbe. And this, according to unnamed sources in my family, is supposedly what happened. My great-great-grandfather told the Rebbe that he felt worthless, which was making him feel guilty, which was making him feel more worthless, which made him feel even more guilty. And so he told the rabbi he ended up doing nothing with his life. He then asked the rabbi what he should do. And Rabbi Shmuel of Zaslow, with all his wisdom and might, replied, "Listen, Boychik, you can't really do nothing with your life. You see, if you've done nothing, it's not nothing, it's something. You must not do nothing for it to be nothing, for once you do nothing, it's not nothing, it's something. And listen, even your worthless question isn't really that worthless, since it was worth not asking in the first place. And now that you've asked it, you can be sure that at least it's worth forgetting." And in the kishkes of my great-great-grandfather's soul, he seemed to understand what the rabbi was driving at. But he had one additional question that he had to have answered. And this had to do with the existence of God. You see, according to unnamed sources in my family, my great-great-grandfather was a very brilliant man, a learned student of Talmud and Torah, and yet he was a very logical man, having been influenced by the great philosophers of Europe. So he managed to muster up the chutzpah to tell Rabbi Shmuel his blasphemous theory that the existence of God was, God forbid, a lot of nonsense. And without as much as a blink, the famous Paradox Nonsense Rebbe knew just what to say. If God, God forbid, is nonsense, then this is what you sense. And if you sense no sense, it's not no sense, it's sense. You see, you have to not sense no sense for it to be no sense, for once you sense no sense, it's not no sense, it's sense. Does that make sense? Stunned, my great-great-grandfather said no. So Rabbi Shmuel said it again, but a little slower this time. If God, God forbid, is nonsense, then this is what you sense. And if you sense no sense, it's not no sense, it's sense. You see, you have to not sense no sense for it to be no sense. For once you sense nonsense, it's not nonsense, it's sense. Now, does that make sense? My flabbergasted great-great-grandfather never came to counseling to the rabbi again. But from that day forward, he always believed in his own self-worth and in the existence of God. How many sheep? Deborah, if it was 3,000 years ago, and if I was a shepherd with 100 sheep, I'd drive down to Los Angeles until I'd search all the tents until I found your father. And when I found him, I'd say, "Milty, how many sheep do you want for your beautiful youngest daughter?" And he'd say, "I want 75, and I'd say, "I'll give you 49. Then he'd say, "But for my Deborah, I must have more. She is my youngest, my most decent Mädel. With her, we didn't even have to use Dr. Spock. So for her, I must have at least 70 sheep. But Milty, I beg, you're a CPA. What's a few more sheep to a man like you? Me, I'm only a poor poet, and I can't even sell my poems. With the extra sheep, I could fix Deborah's Toyota. I could buy her more grape nuts for breakfast." Then your father would turn to me and say, "Toyota, schmoyota, grape nuts, schmate nuts. David, be a mensch. You want something good, you gotta pay for it. You want a bargain? Go to a bargain store." And I'd think, Milty, he's right. Like Solomon, he's got wisdom. So I'd say, "Okay, Milty, you're right. Take all my sheep. Take my tent on Al-Qaeda Street too. But just give me your Deborah." Then Milty would turn to me and say, "Listen, Boychik, it's not that easy either. This is not like the old days. My Deborah is very smart, a real Philadelphia lawyer. You gotta ask her." It's really up to her now. Oh, I'd say, that's okay. Deborah? Hello? Well, what I want to ask is, we'll see about this later. I'll ask you in, what I mean is I think we should jump before we wait. Wait before we leave. I'll talk to you in a week or so. Milty, you're right. It's not that easy. My Uncle Irving used to say, you can drop dead any minute. And while you're falling to the ground, you've got to ask yourself very quickly, was it worth it? Was it really worth it? And by the time you hit the ground, you've got to answer yes or no. There is no maybe or we'll see about it later. It's black and white, yes or no. If you say no, you'll hit the ground like a boulder. Death will be in agony. Your life will flash before your eyes, and you'll hate everything you see. But on the other hand, if you happen to say yes, you won't even hit the ground. You'll continue falling, and while your life flashes before your eyes, you'll feel proud and wonderful and complete. It's just that simple. That's what my Uncle Irving used to say. Last Thanksgiving, my Uncle Irving finished his dinner, got up from the table, stretched his arms as if to fly, and started dropping to the ground. He was dropping dead right there in front of the whole family. As he was falling, I heard him holler, "Yes!" I smiled at his courage. The last that I heard, my Uncle Irving was still falling. As far as I know, he never hit the ground. The song to Hashem. Searching for you today among the shivering air and April rains, looking for a glimpse of your face, trying to sort out your shape in the sweet and spring-moist hills around me. I am hungry for some message from you that you might have sent by light or wind. Who knew that this would happen? That I could open like the soil and let your roots come into me? That the flower of you would pass through me on this spring day? I am so close to finding you. There, between the mist around those hills, some song that must have found your voice is carried by this burning afternoon in the flames and fires of spring and into my life season. I welcome you. Para bailar la bamba, se necesita una época de gracia para mi parte, y arriba, y arriba, y arriba, y arriba, y arriba, por ti seré, bamba, bamba. David. I'm in the middle of
Wait. What?
We're in a concert.
David.
Synagogue.
This is rude.
This is not Jewish.
This is a Jewish music concert.
What do you mean
I don't want
Jewish?
to sound xenophobic.
This is a
or
Jewish
anything like
song.
that.
Is this a Jewish song?
What? What do you mean Jewish?
This is Jewish, you know, the Moranos of Spain.
More like maracas.
Mariachis or something.
No, it's a Latino song. But is this a Jewish song, huh? All right.
Here's Jewish.
Jewish. Now they want Jewish. They want Jewish? Should I give them Jewish? All right, I'll do it in Jewish. I'll give them Jewish. Avenu Shalom Aleichem. 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 Avenu Shalom Aleichem, everybody. Avenu Shalom Aleichem, Avenu Shalom Aleichem, Avenu Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Avenu. Jewish rock and roll. Oh, yeah. Everybody ready, guys? Here we go. Oh, you can pray and you can sway and you can daven anyway at the shul. When the rabbi starts to sing and take your talents and get swinging at the shul. Do the spiritual sensation that's sweeping the nation at the shul. Well, let's go to the shul. Well, let's go to the shul. Let's go to the shul. Let's go to the shul. Come on, let's go to the shul. Well, there's a spark around the ark when you whore around the Torah at the shul. Do the mitzvah, don't forget it, and you surely won't regret it at the shul. Do your heart to the station, be a light into